Hi, this will be a short introduction to CSS Grid. So CSS Grid is a new tool in CSS3 that allows you to lay out elements on a two-dimensional grid. So if you've used any of the grid systems like Bootstrap or Foundation or 960 Grid, this is similar but easier, more flexible, and is built directly into CSS as a part of CSS rather than built on top of CSS. I'm going to get started by making a folder here called CSS Grid, and then we'll work in this folder. I'm going to open this up in brackets, and I'll make a new file, and you can use any text editor for this. We're just going to make a HTML file. Maybe I'll save it to the folder here. I'll call it CSS Grid number1.html. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a basic HTML page. I'm actually going to leave out the boilerplate stuff and just kind of simplify this to a div with a style tag. And this will allow me to write my styles directly in the same document along with the HTML, and then I'll leave out the the other boilerplate stuff like the body tag and the HTML tag, and then that'll just be easier to read here. But if you were making a real project, you might want to add all that stuff in, and you might want to put the styles in an external style sheet. So anyway, this is what I'm going to start with, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I misspelled that one. Let's fix that, right? I'm going to make a couple div tags here, and this first div is going to be the container. Okay, and CSS Grid essentially needs a container element, and you put some options on the container, and you tell it to display as grid, and the container lays out all the child elements on the grid. Okay, so let's make a couple grid elements here. I'm going to give this guy a class name. Let's just call him box, and then I'll copy this one and paste it a few times. So there's, what is that, 5, 6 of those, right? So I have a container, and then I have a couple boxes. So the container will be the grid, and the boxes will be laid out as child elements or grid items on the inside the container. Okay, so let's start. So we'll declare container here with a style of display grid. Okay, this is the key element here. So as soon as we say display grid, container is going to lay out all of its children on a two-dimensional, grid system. Okay, and there's a lot of flexibility here. In this video, I'm just going to do the very basics, right? So the next thing we want to do is I want to give the boxes some information so I can tell them how to display. So I'll say, box, you are going to be, how about, I don't know, let's give them background color of red, just so we can see them. And there we go, right? And so these guys are all set up. Now what we need to do is the grid isn't going to do much now. I'm going to open this up in Chrome, and it doesn't really look like anything, right? And the problem here is that we need to give a little bit of information to the grid to tell it how to display things. So first, we're going to say display as grid, and then we're going to say how it should display as grid. So grids are made up of columns and rows. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say grid template columns, and I have 6 of these. So let's say I want to make 2 rows of 3. So what I'll do in template columns is I'll describe the columns, okay? And there's a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to just start with some numbers here. So I'll say 100 pixels, 100 pixels, and 100 pixels. So each column should be 100 pixels wide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say grid template rows, and each row should be 100 pixels. Okay? So if I have more than one row, they'll each be 100. These columns will each be 100 wide. So the columns are like they run vertically, and the rows run horizontally across the page, right? So let's give this a try and see what this looks like. Oh, so now we kind of have some layout there. It's not that great, but let's see if we can improve on that, right? So now that I've got the rows and columns, what I want to do is maybe put a gap between each of the rows and columns. So I'm going to say grid, and there's a lot of tools here. You can see all these options here that begin with grid, have have several different choices, right? So you can say grid gap or grid row gap. I'm going to do grid gap. Like a lot of CSS options, they give you a choice for each potential option. So grid gap lets me set the gap on the columns and the gap on the rows. So I'll do 10 pixels each. Oh, there we go, right? So that's looking pretty good. Let's add another row here. Oh, so now I got all 6, right? So that was pretty easy. If I want to rearrange these, right? So this looks pretty good right here, but maybe, I want to change the width of these. So if I make the second one 200 pixels, you can see the second row or the second column is 200 pixels wide. Let's kind of rearrange this a little bit here, right? So here I've got 100 pixels for the first column, 200 pixels for the second column, and 100 pixels for the third column, right? If I want them to take up the entire space, the grid system gives us a new unit called FR. So this stands for fractional unit, right? So it should be one fraction, right? This is 2 fractions, right? So in other words, these two are equal, right? If I want to do a third one, now I can divide the space equally, and depending on the width of the browser, these fractional units will just be one fraction of that, right? You can also do multiple fractions, so now the center column is going to be 2 fractions, so it should be twice as big as the outer 2, right? And I can do the same thing here on this last one, right? I don't think you can use, well, maybe you can do decimal values here. So let's make this one 1 and 1.5, right? And there you go, right? So that's kind of all worked out. So anyway, so that's just a beginning with CSS Grid, and I'll do another video with some more features. It's got a lot of features, and there's a huge number of options with this. But if you just want to lay something out on a grid, just to create rows and columns, you can do that pretty easily like this, right? So thanks for watching.